The story begins with the news broadcast playing on a small television in a convenience store. A police officer in Los Angeles has just been found not guilty for fatally shooting an unarmed 19-year-old black man. The officer claimed he thought the victim was reaching for a gun. It turned out to be his wallet. Protests have erupted across the city. 14 arrests. 3 officers wounded. The city is already at boiling point before our story even starts. The door of the store opens. A police officer walks in, takes off his cap and shakes the dust off his shoes. He asks the bartender for coffee. The bartender turns and says it is not working. Eyes still on the broadcast. The officer asks for a medium drink instead. The bartender offers it to him. When the officer reaches for his money to pay, the bartender holds up a hand and says he is not welcome here today and refuses to take the money. The officer walks back to his cruiser. While driving, he makes a call. He is asking about a woman, whether she was amazing, whether she got to wear the blue dress. He says he misses her, and he is working for both of them, and it will all be over soon enough. He ends the call with, "I love you too, baby." His name is Kevin Ganning. He spots a green Chevy van and immediately trails it. He puts on the siren, calls Station 18, and gives dispatch the details. No plates. Left tail light out. Outside on the street, Kevin Ganning is making a traffic stop. He pulls up right behind the green Chevy van and steps out. His body camera clicks on as he moves toward it. He touches the rear light. He approaches the driver's window and knocks. No response. He peeps through the windscreen and notices a white handkerchief stained with blood. He knocks harder. He orders the driver to roll the window down, hands on the wheel. Step out of the vehicle. The commands get louder and more urgent, and the window stays up. He points his gun at the van. The door opens and a man steps down. Kevin asks him to turn around and put his hands on the van. He begs the driver not to make him hurt him, just to follow his instructions. The car wiper begins to move left and right on its own as Kevin keeps screaming at the driver to turn around. As the driver slowly lifts his hands, it seems he throws something at Kevin. And then Kevin is lifted by a force no camera can explain, thrown into the air. And that is where the footage ends. But our story is just beginning. We see a woman standing by a window, staring at nothing. She picks up a hand-drawn picture frame labeled "My Family," 3 figures sketched in a child's hand. We see a man holding a paper diagram of the sun with a face drawn on it, a nose and a mouth and eyes. Another paper tucked under his arm. He stares at the drawing, lost in something he cannot name. Then we see the same woman driving alone down a dark road, phone pressed to her ear, no words coming out. Only the weight of things she cannot stop thinking about. Her name is Renee Lomito. She is a police officer returning to active duty after 8 months on suspension. Cut to a therapist's office. A department psychologist sits across from her and goes through the standard checklist. Trouble sleeping? No. Trouble relating to people? No. Violent impulses? She says it was a complicated situation. He reminds her that the administration and the public saw her body cam footage. They saw how she handled it. She tells him she has to be on point. She walks up to strangers, and some of them are hostile. He asks if she has moved on from her son's death. She says she needs to work. She really needs to work. He tells her he will recommend her return to nights. She says thank you. We will learn more about that footage later. She goes to the shooting range. She moves slowly and precisely through the range, gun raised, her face completely controlled. She empties rounds into the target at the end of the lane. The light snaps back on. She breathes. She looks around. She is still here. At the precinct briefing, Sergeant Kesper welcomes her back. The other officers applaud. Someone jokes she owes everybody a beer. An officer near the back watches her with a quiet smirk, turning a pen slowly in his fingers. The mood is forced warmth, the kind that exists between people who are watching each other very carefully. Kesper dismisses the room. Renee walks up to him. She tells him he put her with a rookie. Really? He says he gets it and tells her to help him out. He calls her over and takes her into his arms. They embrace. He tells her welcome back. She says thank you and walks away. Kesper pairs her with a rookie named Danny Hollidge. Officers collect their body cameras from the rack on the way out. In the parking lot, Ganning is there with a cup of coffee. Renee has one too. She says she has been itching to get back. Danny walks up to them, hollers what's up. She calls his name. He confirms and says they're partnering tonight. She introduces him to the other officers. They exchange warmth and tell each other to stay safe. Danny tries to leave and an officer pulls him back and tells him to keep his eyes open and stay close to his partner. Another officer smiles and says not too close. Danny looks at Renee. She lifts the car keys toward the other officers and says with a grin, "You guys can forget it." They smile and say, "You're welcome." Danny is young and eager and tries a little too hard. The two of them drive out into a night shift that is already tense. Music plays from the car as they watch the streets. When it stops, Danny tells her those officers back there are just messing around, that he is not a baby. He knows they respect him, really. She says, He asks her to put some music back on. They find a small child standing alone in the middle of the street in a neighborhood that is bristling with anger at the police. They step out with torches. and walk through the dark toward the boy sitting on the ground. Danny crouches down and says, "Sup, little guy." Renee kneels and says, "Hi. It is okay, sweetheart. We just want to make sure you are okay." A gate creaks open. A man steps out angry. Danny tries to calm him down. The boy's mother comes out screaming, telling them to get away from her son and mind their business. Renee tells her she is sorry. They were only checking on him. Neighbors come out in numbers, walking aggressively toward them. Renee stays calm, stays steady, gets the child back to a mother who does not want her help, de-escalates every angry voice in that crowd without raising her own. Danny stands back and watches how it is done. Back in the car, he tells her she handled that well. She says thank you. Then dispatch calls them to East 11th and South Dakota. Unit 18-Lincoln-4 has gone silent. That is Kevin Ganning's call sign. Danny says he is probably just messing around. Renee says no, it is not like him. When they find Ganning's cruiser, it is dark and empty. The streetlights are out. Renee calls dispatch and reports the cruiser is down. She steps out with a torch. The rear tire is flat. There is blood spilled on the ground. She whispers one word under her breath. Danny finds teeth on the hood of the car. Renee gets into the cruiser and opens the laptop. The dash cam footage loads. She watches it. She watches Kevin Ganning approach the green van, heard the commands go unanswered, watches him be lifted off the ground by something with no shape and no explanation and thrown onto the roof of his own cruiser. She watches him crawl, helpless, and be lifted again, this time more brutally. She sits in that cruiser for a moment and cannot move. Then she gets out and finds, on the ground nearby, a single shoe, just one. She calls out to Danny. They sweep the area. They find him. He is hung on the gate of a building in a pool of his own blood, dead in a way that no weapon they know of can explain. Danny finds what looks like teeth in places teeth should not be. Dispatch arrives. They bring the body down and begin processing the scene. Renee spots something on the dash cam footage before it fully corrupts. A woman, black, mid-30s, driving the green van. She was the one at the window when Ganning made the stop. Renee gets one good look at her face before the footage goes dark. Detective Hayes takes over the scene. She tells Renee the footage does not exist, that IT confirmed the card was fried when the car was struck. Renee tells Hayes she saw that footage. Hayes is not interested. She tells Renee to write up what she remembers and go home. Renee and Danny go to a bar instead. Danny orders bourbon. Renee orders club soda. He cannot believe Ganning is gone. He says it does not make any sense. She agrees. She tells him she cannot tell Hayes what she saw because the whole department is watching her, waiting for her to fail again. Danny asks why. She tells him about the incident that got her suspended. A man on a stop would not stop talking. He kept being disrespectful, calling her names. She blacked out, hit him. The body cam footage was enough to pull her badge for 8 months. She explains it without apology, but without pride either. She was going through a lot. She had just lost her son, Christopher. He drowned in a neighbor's pool. Danny goes quiet. Then he tells her he is sorry about all of that. When she gets home, Gary is awake and waiting. He tells her she is home early. He reads her face the moment she walks in properly. She tells him Ganning was killed. She tells him she cannot explain what she saw. She says she feels almost out of touch with reality. He asks if she is okay. She says no. She tells him she has to find out why. He says she is too close to it. She says she cannot feel helpless again. Not after Christopher, not a second time. He puts a hand on her and says, "Don't worry, you are not alone." That night she dreams. She sees Christopher drowning. The dashcam footage from the cruiser plays inside the dream too, and in it she catches a detail she missed before. A cross sign on the trousers of the figure near the van. The cross carries a logo she recognizes when she wakes up. She opens her laptop and searches Swinton Hospital. Staff photos load. She scrolls through them and something catches in her chest. The hospital logo, the same cross. She searches deeper and a photo appears. A woman with a baby in a hospital container. The name on the ward tag reads Swinton Memorial. The next morning she runs the woman from the dash cam footage. A partial name, the hospital logo on her scrubs. She calls dispatch and asks them to run a check on a woman, 34 years old. She shows Danny the logo from the footage matched against the hospital. She says she remembered it from when she had her son there. The name comes back. Tanisha Brands, age 34. She has not worked at Swinton in 6 months. Renee runs her address. She and Danny drive to Tanisha's house off the books. No warrant, no backup. Renee tells Danny to leave the camera off. This is her business. There are letters scattered on the floor just inside the door. She picks one up. It reads, "Final Notice Membership Reinstatement," addressed to Tanisha, sent a month ago. She calls out into the empty house. She dangles the padlock on the back entrance and says there has to be another way in. They find a way through the side. Renee pushing a torch through the window first. The house is unkept and smells of something that has been left to go wrong for a long time. Inside, there are photos of a boy on the walls. He looks young, maybe 13 or 14. Renee says that should be Tanisha's son. She tells Danny to look for anything that can help them get to the bottom of this. She pulls open a drawer and finds small balls with smiley faces drawn on them. She picks one up and stares at it for a moment. Then she hears something and asks Danny if he heard it too. He says no. She says someone is in here. They go downstairs and find ropes hanging from the ceiling of a back room. Danny pulls open a drawer and cockroaches pour out of it onto him. He stumbles backward and runs outside shaking. He calls in from the perimeter and says he sees no one in there. Renee moves through the corridor alone. She calls out, "Police officer, who is there?" A door slams in her face. She checks around her. Something flickers at the edge of what she can see. A shape that appears and then does not. And then it appears directly in front of her. Danny breaks through the glass door from outside just before it reaches her. They come out into the air. Danny is shaking and says this is freaking him out. He cannot do this. Renee looks at him and tells him he has to trust her. He does. They leave without answers, but with more questions. She drives home and opens her laptop. A news result loads. The Swinton Daily News. Coroner identifies body of 14-year-old DeMarco Brands. The next day, the green Chevy van pulls over at a superstore. The same woman from the dash cam steps down, dressed the same. She goes inside. Two men are already in there, one of them throwing items off shelves while filming himself, the other demanding a phone charger from the attendant. One of them spots the woman and asks why she is hiding. He points his phone at her. She stares at him. He asks her, "Are you scared of me?" The attendant screams at them to get out. The first man keeps advancing on the woman. She does not back down. She looks at him in a way that should be enough to stop anyone. It is not enough to stop him. Later that night, Roberts and Burke, two senior officers, call in the green van spotted outside a convenience store on Ripley. As they step inside, the light flickers. Roberts asks who owns the green van outside. The first man says he did not drive any van. Roberts tells him hands above his head. Burke moves toward the second man. The first man, still holding his phone toward the woman, looks at Burke. She is distracted for 1 second. He shoots her in the neck. She drops. Her hand goes to her throat. The first man grabs the woman with his gun still raised and screams, "Let us out!" The lights go out, and then the first man is lifted off the ground by something none of the cameras catch clearly. He fires in every direction as he rises, uncontrolled, terrified. Burke lies motionless on the floor. Roberts is still in the store. He checks Burke's pulse. He looks at a mirror on the wall and sees a shadow pass through it. He moves through the aisles looking for it. A shape drops from the ceiling. It is the man who was lifted, now crumpled on the floor. A figure appears behind Roberts. The man on the floor tries to warn him. Roberts does not turn in time. Something puts a white bag over his head. He tears it off. He fires repeatedly at nothing. He pauses. And then the same force takes him, lifts him, drives him across the store and through the aisles while he is still firing into the air. He does not survive it. When Renee and Danny respond as backup, they find the van outside and the store dark. They go in together. Danny reports officer down on Burke. Renee moves through the counters and steps on something. Pieces of teeth soaked in blood. She keeps moving and a hand grabs her ankle from below. The first man is lying on the floor in his own blood, barely alive. She removes his hand from her leg and moves forward. She finds Roberts and calls in a second officer down. She moves to the back of the store and opens a lock. Nothing. She turns and sees a laptop on the counter showing footage of the store. The woman from the green van is clearly visible on screen. The laptop dies. She tries to restart it. It comes back on for 1 moment showing a rift, a body in it, hands rising, and then it goes dark again. She finds Officer Roberts' phone on the floor, picks it up, and walks out. Outside, backup and the SPD crime scene unit have arrived. Hayes is at the scene. Renee tells her the woman in her 30s did this. Hayes asks Danny if he saw anyone. He says no. Hayes closes it quickly. The VIN on the green van traces to a church pastor on East Adams. He reported it stolen after Ganning's murder. The two men in the store stole it. Ganning tried to bust them. They killed him. Roberts and Burke found the same men tonight, clean and closed. Renee knows it is not clean. She knows Tanisha Brands was driving that van. She takes a piece of evidence from the scene she is not supposed to take. Danny confronts her in the parking lot. He says she is stealing evidence. He says she is going off the rails. He says she has become obsessed with some woman who lost her kid because Renee lost hers. He tells her they found their guys and she needs to let it go. Renee asks what he means. Let it go. He says the department is watching her. He says she will lose her job. She visits the morgue. The technician says he cannot let her in. It is against protocol. He will get in trouble. She insists. He gives her 5 minutes, tells her if he gets in trouble, he is coming after her. He opens the body bags. She asks for a moment alone. He hesitates, says he loves this job and does not want to lose it, then gives her 5 minutes, tells her not to touch anything, and to turn the lights off when she leaves. She brings out the device she took from the scene and presses it to the fingers of both men one at a time. The second finger unlocks it. She casts the footage to her TV screen at home for a clearer view. She watches it. What she sees stops her cold. She goes home. Gary calls from the stairs asking her to come to bed. She says she will be up in a minute. She stands in the dark in front of the safe in their room. She opens it. She looks at the weapon inside for a long time. She places both the gun and the device inside and closes it. Then she hears Christopher's voice, her dead son, telling her she has a dangerous job. She sits on the bed, and it all comes back. A video she made of him once. He is telling her he will protect her no matter what. She sits with that for a while. Then she closes the safe and goes upstairs. Sergeant Kesper addresses the officers at a morning briefing. He says respect does not come from out there. It comes from in here. He says they lost 2 more of their own that week. He tells them to stand tall, stand together. He reminds them about the wake for Roberts and Burke and dismisses the room. She goes to Penda, another officer who knew Ganning, and asks him about a case. A kid named DeMarco Brands. Penda tells her they found him bled out in an empty lot. Looked like a drive-by. Pretty obvious what happened. But the footage Renee pulled from the evidence tells a different story. She finds Danny later that day. They exchange words. He calls her the best. Rains praises on her, trying to hold it together. Then he says he was not ready for this. His voice breaks. She knows he is carrying something he does not know how to put down. That night at home, her phone vibrates on the table. The footage from the store is playing in the background. She picks up the call, and it shows her front yard. Confused, she stares at it. There is a knock at the door. She moves slowly toward it, eyes still on the phone. Another knock. She turns the knob. No one is outside, just the wet ground. Something strange about it, blue and shimmering. She steps out barefoot into it. In the middle of the road, a small boy is standing. She looks at him and reaches out her hand to touch him. He lets out a wicked scream. She wakes up gasping. Gary wakes beside her. They go to the living room. She says she is sorry. She does not want to stress him out. He says let them take care of each other right now. Let them go somewhere peaceful. She tells him she feels like there is a different reality that only she can see. He says there is only one reality and they share it. He tells her it could be stress. She says it is not stress. He says he wants to help. She tells him he cannot help. She has to do this alone. She drives the dark streets with Danny. He says people are talking about her. They think she is losing it. He says he is scared for her. He says he is just trying to keep his head down and get through training, but he cares about her, and he is trying to help her save her job. She calls his name and says simply, in or out. He says okay. She gets the church address from a contact at the office. Thomas Cosalio Jackson, 230 Northeast Adams. She drives there and faces the pastor. He does not deny he lent the van to Tanisha. He takes Renee to the back of the building, to a room where Tanisha used to bring her son DeMarco for a community youth program. He hands her a device to look at. He tells her about DeMarco, 14 years old, deaf since birth, one of the brightest and most devoted kids they had ever had in this program. He did volunteer work across the whole city. He could not hear, but he found ways to be present, ways to be seen, ways to matter to every person he met. Then he was killed. What do you think that kind of loss does to a mother? The pastor asks. Renee says she needs to find Tanisha before someone else dies. He writes an address on a piece of paper and hands it to her. She follows the address to an old factory building. A torch guides her through dark, empty rooms and up a staircase. She finds a room that looks like someone has been living in it. A picture of the boy. A carton box full of more pictures of him, these ones shaded in black. And then she finds what makes her breath stop. Photos of the dead officers pinned to paper with black tape. Ganning, Roberts, their eyes crossed out in red marker, their mouths sealed in red tape. And beside them, the photos of officers not yet dead. Penda, Danny. She looks up slowly. A camera is beeping above her head. Tanisha has been watching her the whole time. Renee steps outside and leans against her cruiser. She hears Christopher's voice again. Mom, you have such a dangerous job. You could have picked so many other ones. Daddy cannot even help you. I wish I could help, but no one can. She calls Kesper, voicemail. She leaves a message saying she needs his help, that Danny Hollage is dead, that she is headed to the old plant on 53rd and 3rd. She calls Danny. He steps out of his car when the phone rings. She says she needs to see him right now. He says give her an hour. She thanks him. She drives to Danny's house. The door is slightly open. She calls out, nothing. She switches on the lights. She turns off a running tap. She hears something from the back of the apartment and pulls her gun. She moves slowly to the bathroom. He is there in a pool of his own blood, his head against the wall. She squats down beside him and looks at what is left of him. She goes back to the kitchen and finds an envelope on the table. Written on it, "I am sorry, Danny." She picks up a flash drive from beside it and walks out. She sits in her car outside the house for a long moment and then slots the drive in. And now we see what was on the footage Renee pulled from the evidence. It was Danny's body cam footage from the night DeMarco died. The officers were responding to a call. They spotted a young man fitting a description in an empty lot. They ordered him to stop. He did not respond. He did not turn around. They pursued him. They cornered him. Penda fired. In the rain, the boy goes down. Roberts grabs him, pulls the bag from his back, empties it on the ground and shouts, "What the fuck?" Ganning asks what is in it. Another officer holds up a wallet and says the boy is deaf. That is why he did not respond. He cannot hear a word. He was not running from them. He could not hear them. He was 14 years old and deaf and had never done anything wrong in his short life. And he was shot because he could not respond to commands he never heard. What happened next was worse. Danny stoops beside the boy and says he needs to get him a bus. He needs an ambulance now. Penda steps in. He speaks quietly to Danny. He says the optics on this look real bad, you understand me? It gets out a kid was killed. The public, the administration, everyone will come down on us. So I would appreciate it. We would appreciate it. You cooperate and we keep this between us. Danny looks at the boy still gasping on the ground. Penda looks directly at him and says, "Can I trust you, Danny? You want a future, right?" Danny says yes. Penda says, "Good." He reaches for a white bag. Danny watches. "What are you doing?" Danny asks. Penda covers the bag over the boy's face. The boy's hands reach up and grip Penda's arms, fighting, gasping. Danny screams, "What the fuck are you doing?" The boy's hands grip harder. Then they go still and drop. Renee watches all of this on the screen. She does not blink. When the footage ends, she sits in the car for a long time, staring at nothing, tears running down her face. She drives to the old plant on 53rd and 3rd and calls out for Tanisha. She leans against the glass of a window in the dark. A car pulls up below. She straightens. It is Kesper. She calls down to him. He comes upstairs. He asks what evidence she has. She says body cam footage of the night of the murder, the kind of footage that starts riots. Another car pulls in below. Kesper pulls a gun and aims it at her. He tells her they need to stay unified. He tells her Danny is dead. They move into a room inside the old plant. Sarge is there now too, the officer from the second car. Renee says Kesper saw the footage too. Kesper says he does not need to see it. He just needs to get rid of it. He asks where the copy is. She says Danny died because of him. Kesper says he always thought she was a cop first. She says I am a cop first. And then he shoots her. The vest absorbs it. She hits the floor hard and stays conscious. He puts the gun to her head and says the next one goes there instead of the vest. Give me the video. Then Penda steps out of the shadows. And then something else enters the room. Something that was not there before. Something that came with Tanisha. A presence that moves through the dark with a specific purpose. It is not random. It is not confused. It knows exactly whose face it is looking for. The lights begin to flicker. Kesper and Sarge look around the room. Tanisha appears from behind Sarge. She says, "You killed my son." Kesper raises his gun at her and asks who the hell she is. She says DeMarco. Kesper's body locks up. Something pierces him. His gun drops. He is thrown across the room into the dark and lands broken against the far wall, bleeding. His body crumpled, his teeth on the floor. Sarge runs. Penda backs into another room. He drags at a chain trying to get a door open. It will not move. He moves through the space, eyes wide, sensing something in the dark with him, firing his gun at nothing, hitting nothing. Renee steps in front of him and tells him to stop. He turns his gun on her. She fires first, catches his arm. He drops his weapon, groaning, and then the figure takes him. It wraps itself around his throat and he is lifted off his feet, gasping, clawing at something he cannot grip. His scream fills the room, and then the figure reaches into his mouth and pulls something out that should not be pulled. He drops. Tanisha tells Renee it is DeMarco. She says she cannot control him. She tells Renee she needs to leave. Renee says no. This ends here. She wants to handle it the right way. She tells Tanisha to let her, and then Renee turns and sees the figure looking directly at her. It tilts its head. Tanisha touches Renee from behind and says quietly, "Don't worry, he knows you are with me." The figure goes still. Then it fades back into the dark. Renee helps Tanisha down the stairs and out of the building. The ambulance has arrived. They wheel Tanisha out. Sarge is loaded into another vehicle. Before Tanisha is placed inside, she turns around. Renee is sitting on the edge of an open ambulance. They both see it at the same time. Two boys standing together at the edge of the light, watching from a distance. Tanisha raises one hand slightly and waves. Renee gives off a faint smile. It is the first one in a long time. Weeks later, a news broadcast plays again. This time, a different story. A jury has found Sergeant Kesper guilty of conspiracy in the murder of DeMarco Brands. The trial began after body cam footage from the late officer Danny Hollidge came to light, showing the involvement of Ganning, Roberts, Penda, and Kesper in a cover-up that went all the way to the top of the watch. In brief comments after the verdict, Officer Renee Lamido says she was just doing her duty. Tanisha is back at work. She walks through the corridors of Swinton Hospital with something on her face that was not there before. Sergeant Kesper is in handcuffs, and Renee is at home, holding the hand-drawn family picture, the one with 3 figures in a child's sketch. Her partner Gary comes up behind her and wraps his arms around. They both smile at. She has finally put something down. So what did you think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.